What it do, y'all? It's your girl Makeup and Travel, and for today's video your girl is here to bring you another video in my shopping my stash to actually dupe out a collection. And for today's video, as you saw by the title, I am going to be attempting to dupe out the Pat McGrath times Bridgerton 2 collection. So in this collection there are quite a few things. You have an eyeshadow palette, you have a blush and highlighter palette, and you have like something crazy like 10 lipsticks that are launching in this release. Now some of those lipsticks do appear to have very similar packaging to this collection, which is the first one. So a lot of people have speculated that because of supply chain issues, those were delayed and they just released the rest of the collection separately. But long story short, I am taking the time to dupe out or see if I can get the vibes of this collection with the products that I already have in my collection. So I did go ahead and put these products on my eyes. My dupe palette is on my eyes. I also did shop my stash and I put on some Pat McGrath lip products and some Pat McGrath cheek products. So I'm really happy that I was able to kind of talk myself out of it. There are going to be two parts of this video. One where I show you guys me actually taking the time to go through my collection, see what single shadows I have that could potentially dupe out this palette. And then the second half is going to be showing you guys how I created this eye look. I didn't do the cheeks or the lips mainly because I didn't think it was going to be super complicated that you guys would actually want to see it. But that said, this is kind of my conclusion. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be picking that palette up, but let's stay tuned to see how good I did or how bad I did in duping out the vibes and or actually duping out the Pat McGrath Bridgerton second collection. Alrighty guys, so for today's video what I'm going to be doing is attempting to dupe out the Bridgerton Part 2 collection. Now I have done a video like this for the first Bridgerton collection, but in that video I actually physically had the collection in my hands, so I was able to kind of dupe it out even better than I think I would be able to dupe it out today. But I still wanted to go ahead and do this video because I think I'm actually not going to pick anything up from this specific collection. I was really pulled in by the new formulation and the new texture that was in that original or first palette in this series, but I already have that formulation now, and I've seen that this palette doesn't provide everything that I may love, and I feel as though the second volume is going to have the same kind of quote-unquote problems. So that's that. Right over here is my camera, not my camera, my computer. So I do have the visuals that Pat McGrath has provided to us on her website. So I'll be using those to help me assist with picking out the particular colors that I think would work from my collection. Mainly this video is going to be duping out the eyeshadow palette, but I do just want to briefly go over the other parts of the collection. So the one part that I truly will never pick up is the black eyeliner. It's a thick kind of thick pencil kind of like a crayon product, and those are not things that I get a lot of use out of, although I have in the past wanted a black primer or a black kind of eyeshadow base to do one or two looks. In the grand scheme of things, I don't need to pick up one from Pat McGrath because it's going to be just too expensive. So that is an easy pass for me. Then we have the two loose highlighters that are in like those compacts that there's like a puff ball on top. The swatches look absolutely beautiful, but I was able to pass on this same type of formulation from Fenty, and I think I'm going to be able to pass on this as well. I know me, I don't put any form of highlighting products on my body. I've already told you guys 9 times out of 10 you won't catch me outside. So the idea of putting a highlighting product on just to sit inside in my bed or on my couch, it just doesn't make any sense at all. So that is another easy pass. No need for me to even try to dupe it, mainly because I don't even have that type of formulation in my collection. And then we have the lip products. Now, we haven't seen all that much information about the lip products. Let me see if I can get some more information really quickly. So all of these, although they may be named like nude 1, nude 2, all of that, they all look very, very pinky, which makes sense. It's Pat McGrath. She does tend to lean towards pinks when it comes to nude tones, but I prefer nude brown shades specifically on my lips. So this is going to be another collection that I can pass. And then if we really, really wanted to get technical, I do have at least one nude pink and I believe one nude brown from Pat McGrath's collection already. So I don't need any additional ones. I already have this formulation, although I don't believe they've said if it's matte or the satin formulation. If I get more information before I upload this video, I will put that on the screen for you all. Then she has this new configuration, if you will, of a cheek palette where there are 3 blushes and 1 highlighter. And I will say these definitely had me do a double take, as Samantha March says. They're really, really pretty, but I think I can easily dupe these out into my collection. So you get like one kind of deep like Merlot type blush, then you get 2 kind of more nudie pinky blushes, one that leans slightly a little bit more orangey, the one that leans slightly more pinky, and then you get the highlighter. Now these, like I said, look very, very pretty, and they did have me stop, but I have this palette. So this is the Pat McGrath Celestial Odyssey Divine Blush Trio, and this gives me a beautiful, beautiful highlighter, a nudie-ish blush, and a pinky blush. Now granted, these are deeper, so they work beautifully on my complexion, and these are of her matte formulation. The palette that is in this new collection definitely is more of a satiny, sheeny type of blush formulation, but even with that, if I truly, truly wanted to add a sheen or a blush or whatever, I really could just pull this and shimmer it on top. I don't think I need it. I haven't seen how expensive it is, but knowing Pat McGrath, this is easily going to be somewhere near the $50 mark, and I can't afford it right now. Life is getting really expensive with the increase in a lot of different categories that are necessities, so I just can't afford to pick this up. Would I want this? Of course. This is the one product from this whole collection that is really, really pretty in my eyes, and that would potentially add some value. But on top of that, on top of all of the, like, it's beautiful, I think I would get a lot of use out of it. The packaging, I can't stand the packaging. I don't like that it's in a round like tin, and I can only assume that this is going to be a thick product. And for these types of products, I put them in kind of like a palette organizer, and there's very little room for something like this to fit into that organization. And I've kind of told myself, if the product that I'm interested in cannot fit into my organization, it doesn't need to be purchased from me. So this is going to be another pass, at least for right now. I'm going to just use what I have from Pat McGrath and all of the other products that I already have in my collection that are singles, or maybe even other eyeshadow or other highlighter palettes or blush palettes to kind of get me through. Now, like I said, the big ticket item here is, of course, the blush or the eyeshadow palette. So the eyeshadow palette is going to be $65. Let me actually go back on my computer, because if it told me the price for the eyeshadow palette, I can get the price for the blush palette as well. Yeah, the blush palette is $60. That's insane. I just can't afford that right now. So I'm definitely going to pass on that. So the eyeshadow palette, like I said, is $65. And in that you get 6 shadows. Now, let me see if she gives any descriptions on these shadows. All right, there are some descriptions, so I'm just going to run through those really, really quickly, and then we will start building my own perfect version of it. So in the top left corner of this palette, the shadow is called Refinement, and this is supposed to be used as a brow bone or inner corner highlight shade. Does it tell me? It doesn't give me a description of it though, but it looks to be like an icy pinky shade. Then next we have Regency, and this is supposed to apparently sculpt the socket and define your lash line to add depth in the outer V area. So this is the deepest shade that they have in this palette based on that description, I would think. Then you have Emphasize, which is the center lid shade that you're supposed to sweep over to create a diamond desire, and this is a multi-dimensional sparkling effect, and you can use this shadow wet or dry. Then you have the shade Forbidden Armoire, which is the sculpt. It's supposed to be able to sculpt the socket, define your lash line, and add depth as well. Wait. So both the Forbidden Armoire and the Regency Romance. From what I can tell in this picture, Regency Romance definitely looks to be more of a satin finish, whereas Forbidden Armoire definitely looks to be the full-on matte in this palette. Then you have Darling Dandy and Forever Charmed, and these are supposed to be the additional pops of metallic brilliance that you're supposed to be able to put all over your entire eye to add the embellish of the eye makeup, etc., etc. So she breaks it down where she kind of gives you the quote-unquote anatomy of the palette. I wish that we were able to get like a description of the colors so that I could potentially do even better. But based on the arm swatches, the two kind of add depth shades are two pinks. One is maybe a little bit more pinky, one is a little bit more, maybe more mauvey or purpley, but they're all the same thing more or less. And I don't know. I just know that the last palette that I picked up, there was not as much depth acquired from the eyeshadow palette that I would have hoped. I'm actually going to go back and look at those pictures really quickly, if it allows me to, because I am curious whether you saw that huge difference in the two swatches. Yeah, so on their website, they are able to show a huge difference, drastically huge difference between the two kind of crease shades, or all three crease shades, really. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. This just doesn't seem like it's something that is worthwhile for my money. I know Pat McGrath tends to give a discount if you buy same day that it's launched on her website. I believe the discount is usually like 20% or something. But regardless, let's get into shopping my stash to see what I can come up with. I believe the one like green is the multi-chrome, and it's like a pinky greeny situation, and then everything else is pretty much spot on. There's no like reflect or anything like that. So I am going to fast forward this part, put some music in the background, and just show you guys how I build the palette. Alrighty, so as you can see, I have quite the collection of shadows that I think could be contenders for my perfect version of this palette. And yeah, as you can see, it's a hodgepodge of colors, which is truly what this palette looks like to me. It looks like a hodgepodge of colors that you can kind of go any which way. So yeah, I don't really know. I don't know. So let's start off with the first kind of light icy pink shimmer shade. I don't have very many of these types of shades just because those just aren't shades that I generally gravitate towards. I did just go ahead and kind of deconstruct an old kind of my perfect palette to get this one. So let's swatch some of these pink shades. There are quite a few of these, and I think some of them could be contenders for either this first shade that I actually want to see, but also potentially for that second to last pinky shade that's right next to the green. So I'm just going to swatch these all, hopefully on my hand. This first one has no name, so you gotta love that. I believe this is from Baby Bat Beauty, if I remember correctly. Really old shade. Don't really like the finish. Oh, but it's a multi-chrome. That's why I still have it. Okay. It's not very shimmery though. And it pulls like pinky to blue. I think you guys can see that now. Okay. Next is Runts from Divina Cosmetics. This is a really, really pretty multi-chrome as well, where it pulls quite orangey, but it also goes to like a pinky purple as well. I think you guys can see it right there. And then I don't know if you guys can see the orange, but it definitely pulls a very bright orange. Okay, let me put these in the order that I swatch them so I remember. Then we have from Vanessa's Vanity Strawberry Lemonade. I remember at one point this was one of my favorite shades to put into my perfect palettes. It's just a really pretty shade. And Vanessa's Vanity is super cheap, which is why I loved the brand for a little bit. This is pretty much a dead-on dupe for Runts. So if you did not want to pay for Divina Cosmetics, it's pretty much the same thing. That's funny. Didn't even try to do that. Okay, next let's try this one, which it's Touch of Glam Beauty Reawaken. So this is just pretty much a really, really foiled, beautiful, icy pink. There's no reflect to that at all. So I think out of all of these are kind of going to be the best ones to match that first shadow. And if we're being true to the palette, I think it would be this Touch of Glam shade. If I was being true to more me and adding some variety to it, I actually would choose one of these, either the Runts or the Vanessa's Vanity, because then that'll add some cohesion to me with the dark green shimmer that is just randomly thrown in this palette. So I think because we're gonna make this perfect for me, I'm gonna go with, I'm gonna do the Vanessa's am I gonna do the Vanessa's Vanity? Yeah, let's do Vanessa's Vanity. I don't really talk about that brand that much, and I like that shade. Oop. Let's not and said we did. Okay, so we're gonna do with that, and these three, although pretty, are gonna go back into the collection, although this one might get chucked because I'm not super impressed with that. I don't know, we'll see. Okay, next is like the dark purple. So let's move these back because these are contenders for another shade, and let's pull out the darker purples that I pulled. So these are the 4 shades. As you can see, these are 2 that are pretty much similar in depth, but these 2 are a lot deeper. As you guys know me, I do love a palette that gives me a lot of depth, so that's kind of why I chose these 2. But I also didn't know if these were going to be warm enough. I do think that overall this palette leans a lot warmer, and I didn't want to kind of give a cooler tone deepener shade and kind of mess with that. So let's go ahead and swatch these in the order that I put them out. And this is Clionadh Cosmetics' Raspberry Fudge. which I actually really do like this shadow, mainly because it's deep like a brown, but it definitely has that purple kind of hint or tint to it to make it truly like a raspberry fudge type shade. So I really do like that shade. Then we have Maroon Berry by Coastal Scents. This is not the best actual shade, but the color is really, really pretty. I think easily between the two, I would definitely pick the Clionadh Cosmetics Raspberry Fudge though. And then we have another Coastal Scents, and this is Vibrant Plum. Once again, Coastal Scents was never the best in formulation. You had to just hit the right ones to get the good formula. It's a really nice, pretty shade, but I think this is too light for the depth shade that I would want in my palette. And even based on the swatches that Pat McGrath is showing, this is definitely too light. And this is also too vibrant to potentially be a contender for the other pinky shade in this palette. And then the last contender for this shadow is ColourPop's 143. Okay, and once again, that's just too vibrant and too light to be a contender for the shade that I'm looking to dupe out, which is Forbidden Armoire. So I'm gonna go ahead and go in with the Clionadh Cosmetics shadow, which is in Raspberry Fudge. I just think that is a little bit more true to not only me, but also to the palette. And in case you need to see the swatches again, these are the swatches. And I chose this one to go into the palette. Okay, so these three are going to go back into my collection. Honestly, I should consider actually getting rid of these two. I'm not a huge fan of them, but that's something to think about for a later day. All right, so next is kind of the lighter purple pinky shade that is in this palette. And I pulled these three shadows. I don't even know. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. I don't think any of these are really going to be very reminiscent to what is in this palette. I also do have, just for reference, this palette, which is my recreation of the first collaboration, and this shade actually might do what I want, so we'll look into that one if I need it. But for right now, let's look into these three. So this one is from Inglot, and it is in the shade M853. This is really vibrant, but I'm hoping it'll kind of dull down a little bit on my skin, and it does not. It's definitely very vibrant, very out there in charge. I need something a lot more subtler. This I depotted from a palette, so no name for her. But this is subtler. This is a lot subtler. And I actually think that is the perfect shade. Wow. Okay. And then the last one, which had a little bit of purple, is Wild Berry. I believe this is from Clionadh Cosmetics as well, but the brand did not put their name on it. Okay, and this one definitely has a lot more purple, if you can see. So this is the Clionadh one, this is the no name one, and this is from Inglot. I think I'm gonna go with the no name one actually. I just think that it has a little bit of brightness. If we're gonna go with what I have here, let's try, let me see if let me swatch the one that I put into my previous dupe out palette. Okay, this one is Baby Pink by Coastal Scents. Okay, let's see. You know, I'm pretty sure this was another shade that I just got stumped on because I just don't have a lot of shades in this kind of color. It's just not a color that I really gravitate towards. This is definitely lighter. This is definitely more vibrant than the shadow presented on, or the swatch that's presented. This is the right amount of muted, but it's too deep. Oh, this is hilarious. Okay. Let's see. And I also do have this small palette, so I do actually need to keep that in consideration as well. I don't have a bigger palette unless I switch out the palettes. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna switch out these palettes so that Well, this one has a big one too. Good gracious almighty. Okay, we're just gonna use this one. That's how it's gonna go. I only have 3 more I have to fit in here. Hopefully there's no more big shadows, but I just think that that one is good enough. It's not as light as this. It's definitely brighter. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. That's the best I can do. Clearly pinks are a weak point in my singles collection, and honestly I'm not mad at that because I don't really wear a lot of pinky looks at all. And when I was really into getting more pink singles, I did gravitate towards the vibrant pinks because I was still in like an all bright everything mood. Although this would actually really balance out the palette. I already took them off. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna switch to that one. I changed my mind. This is the, I believe, another Clionadh Cosmetics, which is Wild Berry. I know it definitely is lighter than this one, and it just blends with the color scheme a little bit better for me. So that's what I'm gonna do. I've made my final decision. Okay, so then we have 3 blues that are all contenders for the shade Darling Dandy. So these are the 3 that I'm gonna swatch for you all. This one is Prom Queen by Looxi Beauty. This is a stunning shadow. This is a teal with slight purple shimmers in there, so you get a slight purple hue. I don't think it's going to be able to be picked up on the camera though, but it's really, really pretty. Then this is from Sydney Grace, and this is in the shade Juggler. Definitely a darker kind of denim blue. Smooth metallic, no kind of reflect or anything to it, but really, really pretty nonetheless. And then the last one, this I believe is from Clionadh before they really got big, when they were only on Etsy and they did not put the names on the back of their shadows. So I have no idea which shadow this is, but these are really, really pretty. Very, very pretty. If we're staying true to the original palette though, I would need to pick this first one. I'm trying to think which one will be my perfect version of this palette though, because my pinky shade, it goes pink, but there's definitely some blue in there. Which blue do I think will gel the best with that shade though is the question. And here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean off my hands, well, my fingers, and I'm gonna actually re-swatch the light shade to see which shade I think will gel the best. Okay, let's see. Oh no, that has a reflect of purple. I'm gonna go with this one. Once again, just adding more consistency with the color combination if I bring another shimmer that pulls a little bit of purple in there. So this one is Prom Queen by Looxi. And this is what my palette looks like so far. 2 more to go. Okay, so next I have the kind of darker pink, but it's still a shimmery pink. These are the only 2 left of the shimmers that I still have pulled out. Oh no, sorry, 3. So these are the 3. Let's get to swatching. This is from Glamlight. Is that the brand? No, this is from Give Me Glow. I'm sorry. And this is in the shade Pink Frosting. I really need these brands to put their names on the back of their shadows. So this is a really, really pretty metallic pink. Beautiful, beautiful shade. Then we have Tesla from Looxi Beauty. This is not as metallic as the Give Me Glow, but there is a strong reflect. I'm sure you guys can see from the blue to the pink. Really, really pretty. And then the last shade is Oracle, and I believe this is another shadow I got from Vanessa's Vanity, but once again, no shade name or no brand name on the back. And this has an extreme green reflect. I don't even see the pink on my hand at all. And I don't think you guys see the pink either. So these are completely different. There's absolutely no similarities between any of these shades, which is good. It really is. It's nice. But the question is, once again, which shadow am I going to choose? I don't really know. I don't know. Maybe for, once again, consistency's sake, I will stick with one of these. Although a nice basic pink wouldn't be terrible, but honestly, the size of this, I don't want to deal with trying to fit that in this palette, if we're being 100% honest. And I've now had shades that pull what? This shade pulls a little purpley. This shade pulls, did I forget again? This shade pulls a little green. I think it might be good to have a basic Betty in this palette without so much reflect. So I think, unfortunately, I'm going to try and stick this big monstrosity in this palette. Once again, this is Pink Frosting from Give Me Glow. Okay, and then the last shadows that I need to kind of figure out which one is perfect for me is this green one. So I have 5 different green shadows that I can look into. Let me clean off my hand one more time. All right, so we're going to start off in this top corner, and this is from Sydney Grace, and this is Be the Sunshine. And for this shadow, I tried to get some variety, both some basic green metallics, but also some duochromes. So I'll try and save the duochromes for last, but this is also another olive basic metallic, and this is Commission, and this is again from Sydney Grace. But this is a darker, more olivey green, whereas the other one was a like sweet, I don't know if that's the right term, but this is definitely a brighter green, whereas this is more of a deeper green. And I think in her palette, it's definitely a deeper green, although there's such a high shine that it does not look as deep as it truly is on my skin. Then the last 3 are multi-chromes. This one is Para Lucia, and this is from Divina Cosmetics. So this is a dark green that shifts to an orange red. I'm not sure if you guys are going to see. I think you guys see it right now. That shift, really, really pretty shift. Then we have 2 more. This one is Mirage by Tara Moons. And I believe these have the exact same shift. They do. They have the exact same shift. And then lastly, I have Sydney Grace's Twisted Silver, which this is a lighter green off the rip, but once again, pretty much the exact same shift. Although I will say the Sydney Grace one is a lot more metallic and kind of more large and in charge. Oh my gosh. So my camera stopped recording. I have absolutely no idea where it stopped recording. That's wow. Okay, well, fun. This is the final palette, and this is what she looks like. Really, really pretty. And then this is the final swatches. All of these shadows, I think, help to build a more cohesion with this palette. This top one has not only pink, but also some green in there. Then you have a beautiful deepener shade. You have a really nice kind of crease shade. You have this blue that has a little bit of purple in there. You have this basic pink, which is really nice. And then you have this green that is a true multi-chrome, where you have a red, gold, a slight little bit of blue, and everything and anything in between. I am going to come up close to the camera, and then I'm going to check to see what was recorded and maybe go back and record that stuff. Alrighty guys, so like I said, this is the finished palette. What I am gonna do is have hopefully a cutaway screen so that you guys can see my palette in comparison to the original palette, and I'll put it over here. And then I also will do a breakout screen where I show you guys my swatches compared to the original swatches that she has on her website. I will just caution you to not really take these swatches to heart, and unfortunately I only say that because in the other palette where she showed great diversity between two of the shades that, at least on my eyes, I did not see as much diversity, nor when I swatch them. I just don't want you guys to think picking up this palette you're going to see a lot of diversity. I find that this little color scheme that I've created, I'm going to get a lot of diversity potentially in the looks that I create, and also just have fun creating looks with this palette. I will cut away right in a second, so I will show you guys how I created the tutorial that I began this video with. But yeah, I just wanted to take the time to just caution you in general overall when it comes to brands. Don't necessarily take their swatches fully to heart. Wait till anybody gets a palette and swatches it, and then you'll kind of see, true to like a normal person, how the swatches really come out. So that's all I wanted to say. I'm, like I said, going to cut away right now and show you guys the tutorial that I created with this palette so far. Alrighty guys, so I've primed my lids. I am using the Natasha Denona eyeshadow base, and first I am going to go into the lighter shade with this fluffy 03 Wayne Goss brush. And I'm just going to use my normal kind of motions, which is to start on that outer V and then slowly blend it into the crease. This shade seems to be sticking to this primer really ugly. Well, we're going to keep going though. What shade? Where is this from? Ah, it's from Clionadh. That makes sense. I'm not the biggest fan of their matte formulation, and this is why. This is why. This is supposed to be a pinky kind of light mauve shade, and on camera it looks atrocious, and in person it is very, very, I don't even know. I also am getting some of my highlighter into my crease, so that's fun. This look is proving to be a lot more difficult. A lot more difficult than I thought. Okay, so for better or for worse, this is how this shade applies. Yeah, so the Deepener Up shade in this palette, I think, once again, is a Clionadh matte. Yes, it is. So let's hope that this does better with just everything. And I'm going to use a different Wayne Goss brush. This happens to be the 17, and it is clean. It's just stained. So, okay, off bat, this is actually showing up a lot more true to the shade that I was expecting. It's deeper, which is nice, and it is appearing to apply and blend out, but you know, we'll see. And like I said, any shimmer that you see in my crease is really from my highlighter. Clearly I still haven't mastered that technique of putting my highlighter in the crick of my eye and blending it into my eyeshadow. Okay, so these mattes, I don't really have all that much experience with these, as crazy as it is. I've had these for forever, but you know, I bought them when I was buying everything under the sun and not really taking a lot of time to really get used to the formulation. It looks like these mattes blend a lot better on a set base, so I will definitely take that into consideration if I reach for this palette again in the future and actually set my primer and then apply these shadows so they're a lot more true to color, because it's looking like this is more of a smoky eye because that outer V shade, which should have been lighter, really just like applied insanely dark. But I will make it work. I will make it work. Okay, so I'm just going back and forth between the two brushes and the two shades just to make sure that I get the blend that I desire. And I'm also just going to go ahead and do my lower lash line while I'm at it. This part I should not have any problems with because this has been set. Okay, we're going to go with that for right now, and we'll play it by ear if I feel I need to do more. Okay, so then I'm going to reach in for a flat brush. This one happens to be from the Sephora collection and is the number 13. And I have quite a bit of shimmers and metallics to play with. So many different colors to really have some fun with. And I think I'm going to actually try and fit all of these single shadows on my eyes just to really have some fun. So let's see how we're going to do this. I am going to cut my lid with some NYX glitter glue. So now what I'm going to do once again is take that brush and I am going to take just a tiny bit of the blue. I just have it touching the very top of my brush, and I am going to create like a line of demarcation with that blue in my look. Oops. It's okay if you go too low, but try not to go too high. Okay, so far that's what we're looking at. Then what I'm gonna do is just wipe off that same brush because I just don't feel like dirtying up more brushes. And I am going to put the dark multi-chrome, this baby right here, on the outer part of my lid. And this is where you can really clean up that line of demarcation to make sure that it's applying the way you want it to apply. And it's going to ultimately look thinner than maybe what it looked like before. Okay. So that is done. Then I'm just going to flip the brush over and I am going to dip into the really bright pinky shade, and this is going to go in my inner lid. Now I flip the brush over and you will see why it's important for me to do that. It allows me to go back and forth between the two shades on the same brush after I've gotten the initial application of both shades so that it can look a lot more seamless. Because I don't want that to be stagnant, these two shades merging. I do want it to kind of be a little bit more seamless, a little bit more kind of, I guess, believable, if you will. And if you need to, feel free to pick up more product just so that everything is blending together. Then the last thing I'm going to be doing is doing my inner corner highlight, and for that I will go ahead and pick up a new brush. This is a pencil brush, or actually a crease brush from Ulta, but I consider it a pencil brush. It's too small to be in my crease. Anyways, I'm going to go into the last shimmer that I have not put and put this right in my inner corner, and I will put this slightly on the front of my lower lash line as well. So this is the finished look. This is how it's going to look. I may kind of even out some of the blending do some other things, but this is pretty much the look. I am going to go ahead and do everything else on the other eye, put on my liner, my mascara. I will comb it back so you guys can see the finished look. And yeah, give me 1 second. Alrighty guys, so this is the finished look. So like I said, this is the finished look. I really did have quite a bit of fun of not only creating a look with this, but also using all of the shades. The one kind of downside I would say with this particular palette is the formulation of these two shades. They don't necessarily work with the way that I typically apply eyeshadow, but I'm sure, like I said, had I set that base, this shade would be appearing a lot more true to color, and then this one would be appearing even deeper. Whereas right now in my look, I'm pretty sure you only saw this deep shade and you can't even really see this lighter shade. It just kind of looks like a blend out of this one. But either way, I'm still very much happy with this palette. I'm so happy with the lid and the fact that I was able to kind of pull all of the shades together. I think the idea that I really did keep in mind the different subtle shifts and the multi-chrome shifts that were presented in each shadow allowed this whole look to kind of work, at least in my head. I haven't seen the footage, so hopefully the eye look actually looks halfway decent. But yeah, that's pretty much that. If you're wondering what else is on my face, I did go ahead and make this as much of a Pat McGrath face as I could. I don't have a full face of her makeup, but I do have quite a few things. So for my lips, I actually used two Pat McGrath lipsticks. One is in 1995, which is, this is in, consider the bottom part, not the top of the shade. That's in the very middle of the dark chocolate brown, which is in the shade Divine Brown, and that's kind of over my full lip liner. I really do like this brown. It's not super warm, it's not really cool. It's pretty much a neutral toned brown, which is really, I'm digging it so much. But it's deeper than my complexion, so you can definitely see my lips. It's not like concealer lip situation. And then on my cheeks, I went ahead and used my Divine Blush Trio, which I said pretty much more or less this was going to be my like way of talking myself out of getting the cheek palette, because that is $65. And basically what I did on my blush, I mixed these two, and I think I came out with a pretty, not really satin, but a beautiful natural finish, pinky-ish, nude-ish shade. And then my highlighter is this beautiful right here. And I think something I didn't realize when I originally applied this shade is that there is a subtle kind of glitter in there. It's not super just like metallic or really shimmery. I think there is a subtle glitter in there, which is really, it was nice to see when I was applying it today. So like I said, this is the finished look. I hope you guys enjoyed this video with me once again shopping my stash to talk myself out of picking something up. That said, I'm not saying that I will never pick up anything from this collection, but it's proving to me that I really don't necessarily need something from this collection. And maybe I will wait to save up some money to potentially pick something up in the future. But honestly, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to forget and I'm just never going to pick it up. So I hope this helped you all if you were interested, but also could not necessarily afford picking this product up, or even for those who weren't interested and just wanted to see what I could shop my stash, or some similar eyeshadows, or just new eyeshadows that I don't really talk about, because I don't think I've really featured any of these single shadows in previous shopping my stashes and all of that. I'm going to stop rambling. Comment down below if you have any questions, anything like that. I would love to hear if you're actually really excited for this launch, if you prefer to this launch to the first launch, all of that and anything in between. Comment down below, and I will talk to you guys in my next video, which I believe is going to be Saturday. We'll see how I do. Alrighty, bye.